Well, hope you all don't mind if the Belmonts take a bit of a back seat for the next three games. Why are they? Well, to give a brief summary, Richter pretty much tainted the entire Belmont bloodline, meaning he can no longer utilize the vampire killer. So, where's the vampire killer now? In the hands of another family who are actually distant relatives to the Belmonts via Trevor. But more on that in the next re-review. For now, let's stick around in the early 1800s in the events of tonight's game, Castlevania, Order of Ecclesia. Enjoy the show. Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new re-review as well as a new installment of my revisit to the Castlevania timeline. Tonight's game is, as of this moment, last original game in the original timeline to be released by Konami. That game being Order of Ecclesia. Castlevania Order of Ecclesia is a 2D action-adventure RPG released for the Nintendo DS in October of 2008 and follows newcomer to the series Shanoa as she tries to get the pieces of Dominus as a way to stop Dracula from resurrecting. This is also the first ever game to have a canonical female lead. I know I'm repeating myself from my Lament of Innocence video, but Castlevania Legend was a thing and was released in 1998 for the original Game Boy and has the first ever female Belmont in the form of Sonia Belmont, but she was later retconned. So I guess this is just Koji Igarashi, producer of Order of Ecclesia, form of an apology to all the feminists for retconning Legends and Sonia Belmont. But back to Order of Ecclesia. Is this game any good, and is this something I can recommend to you? Well, let's find out. And for the record, I will be using my Xbox Series S Dev Mode emulator to capture the footage because the prices of the DS games are just... So Ecclesia takes place in the early 1800s and the Belmont clan mysteriously disappeared. Blame Richter's easy to manipulate mind. And by then, many organizations dedicated themselves to figure out ways on how to exterminate Dracula for good. One of those are the Order of Ecclesia, who created a triad of magical glyphs named Dominus. It's here we are introduced to three of our primary characters, Shanoa, who is an orphan young lady chosen to wield Dominus by Ecclesia's leader Barlow, but before the ritual even begins, fellow Ecclesia member and Shanoa's adoptive brother Albus comes in and disrupts the ritual. This somehow causes Shanoa to lose all emotions and memories. So now, the plot is set in motion. Get the pieces of Dominus back from Albus. On 2 occasions, Al willingly gives Shanoa 2 out of the 3 pieces of Dominus, but it's the final fight where we have to battle him to the death! With an awesome as fuck boss theme called Sorrow's Distortion. Anyways, we kill Albus, get the last piece of Dominus, return to Ecclesia and perform the ritual and... Excuse me? I'm sorry, but did I just get a game over for completing my objective? What the fuck? Oh boy, this is where things get a bit fucky, I wanna say. You see, this happened because of one thing. I didn't rescue all the villagers Albus kidnapped at the beginning of the game. So if you didn't rescue all the villagers, and I mean all of the villagers, 13 in total, before your last battle against Albus, this is as far as you're going, buddy, so get to exploring and rescuing. Alright, so I just rescued all the villagers and beat Albus again, who actually fuses with Shanoa, and she now knows what Albus's true intentions were. Albus wanted to find a way to stop Dracula without using Shanoa as the Dominus vessel because he knew it would cost Shanoa her life. It's also revealed that the reason why he experimented on the villagers is because they were the last descendants of the Belmont clan, as well as told Shanoa that Dominus is made out of Dracula's own essence. We return to Ecclesia and confront Barlow about the revelation, and he reveals that his ultimate objective was to bring Dracula back. This is why I don't trust 72-year-old men. Well, except for my own grandfather. We kill Barlow, who sacrifices himself, and Castlevania is risen yet again. So now Shanoa goes through all of Dracula's castle, confronts and beats the Bloodsucker at almost the cost of her own life, but Albus sacrifices his own soul after restoring Shanoa's emotions and memories. Castlevania crumbles to the ground and Shanoa escapes, while also stating that all records regarding Ecclesia vanished, ending Castlevania Order of Ecclesia. So that was Ecclesia's plot. Overall, for a DS game, this is definitely a great one. Shanoa, while admittedly hot, was flat as a character for most of the game, which in context actually kind of makes sense. Albus was amazing as a tertiary antagonist, just because I like the further you get into the game, the more batshit fucking insane he gets. Barlow was alright. Not much to say about him. But now, is the gameplay any good? The gameplay of Ecclesia has us in control of Shanoa from beginning to end, and the name of the game is run, jump, use magic, explore, and die. This is basically like Symphony of the Night, but on a better handheld. Now, I am willing to admit one thing about Ecclesia. This has gotta be the hardest of the Metroidvania games that I have ever played. Even with the best armor that money can buy, which money in of itself is more scarce than money in Castlevania Curse of Darkness, Shanoa still doesn't do as much damage as possible. Literally most of my captured footage for this video is just Shanoa dying because of how much damage the enemies dish out, and that includes bosses. Don't even get me started on some of the bosses. I do like a challenge, but good god, they could have checked the damage output on most of the enemies, and like I said, the bosses! The prime example will be this cock-sucking anal jug. This is the Blackmore, the 11th boss in the entire game, and I currently have the best armor that I could purchase, but in order to get newer equipment, I need to kill bosses. But anyways, look at this, look at this! This is just from one attack and it dealt over 200 damage! Exclusive to this game is the glyph system, where Shanoa can absorb powers within enemies. Every time Shanoa attacks, it consumes her MP bar, which refills over time. So basically, any and all offense-based attack you do consumes MP. We also have something called the glyph unisons, which are basically special attacks which will consume hearts. In terms of other little gameplay I haven't mentioned, we also have Albus mode. He starts out with a base amount of moves but cannot obtain any glyphs. We do get to use his magic gun, so that's a plus. Both gameplays are also your standard action RPGs, so higher number equals good. Visually, this looks great. Then again, that isn't saying much, considering that this is the last DS Castlevania game to be released before Konami decided to reboot the entire franchise with the Lords of Shadow Trilogy. Back to the visuals, however. I do like the character sprites as well as the character portraits. The character portraits ditches the anime-like style from Portrait of Ruin and Dawn of Sorrow and went back to the more gothic style. Environments look pretty good and enemies also look great. I'm just not a big fan of how Dracula looks, especially in his second phase of the boss fight where, yeah, not looking very cash money there, Drac. But then again, regarding his actual appearance, it could be the bluish skin tone he had. And I know it's supposed to be like a pale gray, but my eyes are telling me that's a bit blue. And OST wise, it's also pretty great for a DS game. I've already talked about Albus's boss theme, Sorrow's Distortion, but there are also other great tracks, such as An Empty Tone, Ecclesia, Prologue, among other great tracks. So, like I said, for a DS game, the OST sounds pretty great. In fact, it's so great I can't name all the songs that I enjoy from this game, and there are 54 total tracks. Now, let's recap. I think the story is pretty great. Gameplay is really good outside of the obnoxious difficulty. Visually it's pretty great, and OST is really catchy, and in Sorrow's Distortion's case, toe-tapping inducing. So now, let's wrap this up with my closing thoughts. Overall, I had an okay time with Order of Ecclesia. From introducing characters who will later reappear in later Castlevania games such as in Harmony of Despair, Grimoire of Souls, and Judgment, alright gameplay outside of the aforementioned difficulty spikes, amazing visuals, as well as an amazing soundtrack for a DS game, play Order of Ecclesia if you haven't, though I do recommend emulating it. Overall, Castlevania Order of Ecclesia gets my score of a 7 out of 10. But now, I want to know from you all. Did you play Order of Ecclesia? Did you enjoy it? And is it something you could recommend to a friend? Leave your answers and more down in the comments. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. And while you're here, subscribe and turn on the bell to be notified whenever I make a new video. As always, the social media links are down below. I've been Horror Kid, and join me next time where we venture into Castlevania Bloodlines for the Sega Genesis. Till then, you all take care.